Everybody, stop window shopping. There's an opportunity on the other side of the window that you've been looking at for a really long time. It's this thing that we're all talking about, the attention economy, the creator economy. Whatever it is, it seems like everyone's having fun on the inside, but here you are, face pressed up to the glass and saying like, I'm too old, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good looking enough. I know, it's hard to keep up. My drip game ain't that. And you know what? You're missing one of the biggest opportunities in your life. In this video, we're gonna break down what the creator economy is and what you can do to capture some of this. If nothing else, it buys you a little bit of runway for whatever it is you're doing. It might be extra spending money or to help you out through a rough patch in your life. But more importantly, it's to help you find out and discover this person that's inside of you and just share that with the world. Stick around.
All right, Chris, so you have been in the content marketing and content creation, content business space for quite some time, going on 10 years now. If someone is entering into the space now, and if someone wants, or maybe they have a business model that isn't a content or digital business, right? And they want to start exploring this as a revenue stream, how might they do that? What are some of the observations that you have around the content marketing space, the content business? So just right off the jump, just in case people don't understand the term creator economy or media business, can you just give us your perspective and your understanding of what that is, given your background?
I wish I had a perfect definition for you, Mo, so I'm just gonna wing this one and just tell you what my impression is. So if you're watching this video, you're like, that's not what the creator economy is about. Well, I humbly apologize in advance that I may not have the definition. I think what social media has given rise to this new class of creative intelligence work, like where you can speak about something and there's multiple ways for you to generate a revenue stream from this. And it's given birth to something that is not the stereotypical, I'm going to go to work for someone from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And it's a wonderful thing. And I think this was ushered in some way by YouTube, creating a platform for all of us to be broadcasters, to create our own TV networks and to attract our own audience and build relationships with sponsors. And YouTube makes it pretty easy for us to monetize, and I use that word carefully, but to monetize our audience in that low-hanging fruit, super passive income is you get AdSense revenue. So if your channel is speaking on topics that advertisers desire, you have a higher CPM, cost per 1,000 views. And if you do something where it is not attracting the correct audience, you get very low CPM. So on the high end, you might get $35 per 1,000 views. On the low end, you might get $1. And that's a vast difference there. So someone who has 1 million or 2 million or 100 million views, but they're getting very low CPM, you're not going to get paid very much. And this is what we call like low-hanging fruit, because you don't actually literally have to do anything. You don't have to field sponsors. You don't have to do anything except for do what it is that you want to do to connect with your audience. Now, our channel is such that in, I guess, our peak, we did $360,000 of Google AdSense YouTube revenue money. And for many people all over the world, that's going to be a god-awful amount of money just for you being you. And I think that's wonderful. And when we look at the median income from developing countries, it's going to be anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000 annually. So someone who's able to record or produce videos from their spare bedroom or their garage or basement, making $360,000, they're going to be making more money than doctors and attorneys do in their own country. And that's a wild idea. Wow. Now, I don't think our results are typical, and I'm not saying this to flex on anybody. I'm just giving you a point of reference. Okay? And if this is all you wanted to do, this is great. Our friend Unmesh Dinda never told us how much money he makes on his YouTube channel, Picks Imperfect, but basically he smiled and says, I'm good. And this guy routinely drops videos that gets hundreds of thousands of views within the first 24 hours. So he's on a different level than us. That's just a point of reference there. Okay. Now we have to go beyond this to say like, well, if you're in America, $360,000 is not enough to pay you for your content and for the team that ultimately has to show up to help you, because this stuff does not happen by itself. So now you get into other ways of making money. But before I get into that, did I answer the question for you, Mo?
100%. I just wanted to give people the exposure, especially those that may not be as well versed as us or, drinking the Kool-Aid on a regular basis, that there is an entirely different money-making machine and model that they can kind of tap into, please continue with what are some other forms of revenue that people can make if they enter the creator economy.
Okay, now Pandora's box is going to open up for you when you go beyond just what Google AdSense might pay you for a view. And I want to point to this article, and I'm assuming if you're watching this video or listening to this, it might be a new thing for you, a resource, and it's often referenced, but the godfather of all of this is Kevin Kelly. He's one of the co-founders, the executive editor for Wired magazine, and he wrote an article many, many years ago, kind of pre-social media boom, if you can believe it, is that to make a good living, you don't need 1 million fans. You don't need 100,000 fans. You just need 1,000 true fans. So the article is called 1,000 True Fans. And I think it's a seminal work that many people have pulled from, including myself. He posits that if you have 1,000 true fans who are going to buy your book, your audiobook, and the digital version of the Kindle version, the same book, you have a true fan. Someone who's willing to go wait in line or to register early so they don't miss out on the next thing that you're going to do. And they're willing to spend $100 with you in profit each year, you would make $100,000. As long as you're not living on the coastal cities in America, you're going to be okay if you make $100,000. I think that's fine for most people. But we can take this idea and we can scale this up. Like, what does this mean? When you show up and you build an audience and there's engagement there, they're basically saying, you have my trust, you've earned goodwill, I'm willing to go and do the dance with you. And so you can do multiple things. And so I'm just going to run off a bunch of different ideas top of my mind so that people can go down and see what fits for them. If I have an audience of 1,000 true fans, that means in theory, if I write a book, a digital book or an audio book, that they're willing to buy it. And that's one way you could sustain yourself. So if you write a book, which I have, and I kickstarted that book, and my goal was to get $30,000. The book is called Pocket Full of Dough, link in bio or link in description, okay? And when we launched that, we were hoping to get 30,000 or I wouldn't do it. And I was blown away because we not only hit our $30,000 goal within the first week, we got somewhere north of 70, I think it was like $75,000 where it ended up, which blew my mind. As a first-time author, as a relatively unknown person outside of my YouTube channel, there were enough people willing to support me. And the cherry on top of that, Mo, is there were 5 books available at $1,000 each with a certain perk. I know in my heart to this day, and I'll swear to this, those people did not buy it because of the perk. They bought it because they wanted to support me. They really wanted to support me. And one of the coolest things is to read through and see who was at the $1,000 level, which was just totally, it touched me emotionally. I was like, wow, I didn't know you would do that for me. And I just feel kind of like really grateful and humbled that this would happen. So this is one thing that you can do as someone who creates content, is to say, like, you know what, if you love this content, I'm going to codify this, I'm going to organize it, I'm going to do the research and the editing, and I'm going to produce one volume of content that you can consume for $25 or $30 or whatever the price point is. That's one way. The next thing that having content has done for me personally is it's given me access to higher profile events with bigger audiences and to ultimately up my speaking fee. There was a period or a season in my life when I was doing public speaking where I was being paid $0 to speak. It actually cost me money to speak, meaning I'd have to drive, give up my time, and I was just doing it for free. But today, I'm happy to share with you, I went from going from free to like a couple $1,000 to $10,000 to $30,000 within a relatively short period of time, because people see the content. They are auditioning you the entire time. They're like, we like the things that you say. We like how you sound and your messaging and just the whole persona, but we love your audience and they're very engaged. And so we think by having you as a headliner that this is going to attract people. Quite literally, before we did this call today, I was telling you I was doing a webinar with one of our friends, Neil Dingra, and he's having me there because some part of his audience wants to know more from me or haven't heard of me. And so this is an opportunity for us to connect. And it's a pretty awesome thing. So some of you who aspire to be authors or public speakers, which are the original thought leaders, if you had a stronger social presence with a more engaged fan following, think about how that might amplify your efforts today. There are other opportunities. The next thing, which is pretty obvious, is to have people who have aligned interests with you, who want to sponsor your channel. Like say I'm using Apple products, I'm using Canon and Sony and Lumix, and I'm using lots of products all over my desktop and Logitech. So some of those companies and Rode might say, look, hey, we'd love to support you. We'll send you equipment. That's awesome. So instead of costing money for you to go out and acquire the gear, the manufacturers will give you the gear, and they just don't give you the gear. They give you the gear ahead of everyone else. And oftentimes there's no obligation. If they're just giving you gear, it's like gifts in kind. There's no official sponsorship thing. You should disclose that you were given the device if it was given to you, but you're not obligated to say good or bad things. Now, my general rule of thumb is I accept everything. I don't talk about everything. And I have the caveat where if I don't like it, I won't say anything. But if I like it because I need to be genuine, then I can say it. Because I'm not going to be out here peddling things that I don't like, because it's not good reflection on my values, and it's not a good way to keep my community involved in what I'm doing. And so when you escalate the sponsorship, not only do they give you the products, they give you cash in hand, as they say, money. And this is an awesome thing. So we're approached quite often to talk about products and services that are aligned. AI software, tools, plugins, things to make designers' lives easier. And those people will give you some money. They'll give you thousands of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars into over $100,000. I've done 2 such promotions or collaborations that have paid me 120 grand each. Incredible. And that to me blows my mind.
Incredible.
You work all year for YouTube, for yourself actually, and you might make 300 grand. That's a lot. You can do 3 sponsor deals in a year and barely do anything and make 360,000. You know, the really cool part of this, and I want to share this point too, is that the kind of sponsored posts that you do are low production, high integrity, high authenticity. So it's like, unlike the old commercial days when a client gave us 150 grand to make a commercial, they expect craft services. They want to know who your DP is, and they want to make sure there's a whole crew and there's a stage and there's wardrobe and casting. And like, all your money is gone. But for sponsored content, however you create content normally is what they're expecting. So you already own all the gear. And if it's just talking to camera, or oftentimes they just prefer you to shoot on your iPhone, the production cost is very little. And you then get to reap most of the profit. Now I want to share this idea with all of you. It's an observation I've had recently. In the old days, I'm talking about the last 10 years, there was value in hiring a crew to go and shoot videos to promote a product or a launch or something like that. And to squeeze it down, let's talk about the real estate market. So if you're selling a property that's $5 million plus up into the $100 million range, you're going to want pristine video quality. In the old days, they would bring you out and you'd have expensive cameras and gear and crew and big gimbals and this whole production and set up lights everywhere. And they would pay you money to do that. And those days seem to be quite gone, because the technology that has been democratized has created a lower barrier to entry. Cameras are cheap. Sensors are great. Lenses are fairly cheap. So any person with like a nice graduation gift from their parents can go out and produce high quality photo and videos. So it's eroded the market. What I've seen though is a shift away from getting paid to produce the video, but getting paid to host the video. I'm watching videos that are for properties that are $3 million and up, with a variety of people who are hosting, and their talent and their ability to speak runs the gamut. I don't want to name names, but I watched this gentleman. He was talking about a piece of like a property that was $7 million somewhere in Los Angeles. He's going through and he's talking about it, and it's fairly fact-based, but I'm not really feeling anything. And I'm like, he didn't really add anything. And then there's this guy, I don't know what his nationality or his ethnicity is. His name is Enos, and he does the craziest properties. The most expensive penthouse sold in the world. The most expensive property in Dubai, 34 million, 80 million, $200 million property. And the reason why he's invited or probably paid to speak about these properties is because people enjoy watching the videos. They have hundreds of thousands of views. Some of them have over 1 million views, and he brings a personality to it. So here's the paradigm shift, if you will, Mo, is this. If you're a videographer who shoots properties or events or weddings, change your mindset, change what you sell to move away from the production aspect of it to the hosting of it. This is where the X factor comes in, where you exponentially increase the value and you become irreplaceable. You are one of one. Very critical idea. So the difference between Ennis and other people who present property, they're like, well, this is marble countertop and this is wooden cabinets. I'm like, what? Ennis would say this. I first want to walk you through the beautiful foyer, and we're going to go into the kitchen. I just want to take a moment and tell you this is Calcutta marble. And this is book matched. And look at the chamfered edge. And I love the beefiness, the thickness of this. And imagine you sitting there having breakfast with your family or having a meeting here and entertaining all these people, right? This is quarter sawn oak that's been pickled, matte finish, and the hardware is German. And he talks about it. Look at the soft touch. Look at the thoughtful features that they've included in here. And when you're ready to like make all this stuff disappear, you push this button and everything disappears. So his level of speaking about architecture and fixtures and painting a picture in our minds is way different than this other person who's been doing these properties. Both of them are experienced. They tell a totally different story. And there's a reason why Enes is the guy they call to do these videos. And what's really interesting, and I'm seeing a trend here, is he has some banter with the camera person. So it's like this whole show between Enes and the camera guy. And they're like, what do you think? I've never seen a camera guy, but he does speak. And he brings a different perspective. And they're like, oh, I didn't notice that. That's a good thing that you just brought up. And the chemistry between the two is almost like a video podcast about real estate property. So those of you out there who are shooting architectural videos for real estate, you're probably getting paid a couple $1,000 to do this. But I bet you they're not flying you across the world to New York, to LA, to Dubai, to parts of Europe, to France, to Turkey to talk about the property because you ain't that person. They'll just hire a local person to do it for much less.
Let's talk about this because we have a few friends we have many friends that do this for a living.
Yes, we do.
Right? I think if I was a person hearing this for the first few times, it's really hard to wrap my head around, you mean to tell me I can make money for just showing up and sharing my knowledge? I want you to ground this in reality for someone who's hearing this for the first time. What is kind of the mental shift you have to make to enter into this type of occupation, to believe that this is something that can be done outside of the evidence that other people have been doing it?
Well, look, the world has changed and it's changed a lot. To even use the playbook from 5 years ago makes you feel like really ancient and out of touch. We have to do this thing, and you can listen to me or you don't have to. Entirely up to you. But I want you to mark on your calendar, this is the first day I heard of this concept. And what I choose to do now, let's revisit this in 3 years. So some of you will make no changes and you're like, okay, I made the right gamble. Look at where I'm at now. And the ones who made the right decisions will be affirmed that they did the right thing. But I can almost guarantee you, if you don't heed what I'm saying, you will not reap the rewards of what I'm going to tell you. And your life will not change for the better. It will change for the worse. As we've seen this, right? We used to go out and do real estate videos, and I would say it's $40,000. And they would pay us. And now they're not going to pay you $4,000. Forget about that. They're like,
the real estate agent themselves will go and just like take a few clips with their phone and literally post it on their website. I know because I work with real estate agents.
Right, because there's no value add. So the big shift here, and this is what you need to hear from me, okay? Which is you have to be less of behind the camera talent to in front of camera talent. That's the big shift, okay? There's only one of you in the world, and when you hide that, you're holding back the value. There's lots of people who can move the camera, people who can edit and do color grading and add some visual effects. Lots of people. Actually, there's a whole lineup of them because they're in my DMs all the time. But there's very few people who could talk about things in a way that captures your imagination. There's just a handful of people. I'm watching all these real estate videos, and I stumbled into a rabbit hole, and now I'm comparing, contrasting, and I'm out there into the real world, extracting the lessons and sharing with you guys so that you can level up and learn. I promise you this. If you're laying tile work, if you're doing plumbing, if you're a roof contractor or a person who trims lawns or spray cleans driveways, the minute you get good at making the content part of it, your business will change. And we've seen this. People who clean rugs, oh my God, piece of garbage cars and clean out every little piece, do some of that ASMR thing with the little brush, cleaning out the gaps in between the gear shifter. Oh, it makes me so happy. It's so satisfying.
And all they're doing is they're not even on camera. That's the crazy part.
No.
All you're seeing on camera is the before and after as it's happening. So because I think sometimes people will hear you say you have to be in front of the camera. There's a lot of ways to be in front of the camera outside of video. You can write. I know a lot of writers that make very good money with courses that are just written, blog posts, videos that you don't see them. They call themselves faceless creators, right? They make a good script and they talk about it, and there's good videography and B-roll around it. So in front of the camera just means to make the content. to actually present the content to the world, present your thinking to the world. The medium can change. It could be audio, it could be written, it could be video.
What we're talking about is you got to stop being invisible to the media.
Indeed.
When anyone else can do it, then anyone else will do it, and anyone else will charge a lot less than you. That's the problem. The reason why these videos work so well, so this is like a sub note to our conversation, is if you want to have the formula for creating videos that get seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, you follow a couple of formulas. Number one, you avoid speaking if you can. Because when there's no dialogue in it, it is something that can appeal to people hard of hearing, people who speak another language, and it's universal. So your audience just open up to everyone in the world versus just the people who understand this language. So you focus on visual storytelling. The second part is you take in the more powerful of the two senses, what you hear. ASMR is a powerful thing because the soundscapes in which you create are more satisfying, they're more hooky, if you will, than the visuals that you see. Don't believe me? Watch your favorite movie and turn the volume down to 0 and see how you feel. Conversely,
so true.
Turn off the screen, turn up the volume, and you imagine the lightsaber battle, the Star Destroyer flying past you, and you feel all the feels. My theory on this, Mo, I think it's more than just a theory. The difference between a low budget production and a blockbuster film is all the money they spend in sound design, in composing, additional voiceover recording, and everything else they do to make the sound lush and you can feel it versus capturing natural sound. So they do Foley, they do all kinds of things. And I was listening to this Instagram account that showed how they designed the sound for like Godzilla or something. This is a sound designer at their best. They're taking sounds like this. Watch, I'll do this for you for your ASMR heads. And they'll take that and they'll process it through something and they'll add reverb and it was like, and then you're like, that was where it was from? This is not just Foley. This is beyond, this is sound design. And they would add in like a young calf and like that. And they would take that and they would change it. And now it sounds like Godzilla's like, and you can hear it. You're like, and they layer this stuff in, Mo. Focus on the thing that people listen to more than what they watch. The sound design, the soundscapes. And so there's plenty of videos of pressure washing, hedging lawns, and whatever they do that's super, super satisfying. Okay? The next part to having something that go viral or getting lots of views is seeing a real transformation. Once we look at the ugly, overgrown lawn and it's like there's bald patches of grass and crabgrass and you can't even see the sidewalk, you're slowly pulling back the curtain to get to the destination. And it's super addictive because like, I can't leave now. I need to know how the story ends. And it's a story that's very easy for us to follow. So you have real transformation. You have a before and after. So if you can include that, like the dirt rug that's just like, there's nothing there. And then next thing you know, it's like a Nintendo Pokemon rug. I'm like, that was underneath all that to reveal that thing. Or the car. This is something they've mastered in television, like those home makeover shows. They can never show you the finished product because as soon as you see the finished product, you're out. Because like, oh, I like it, I don't like it, thank you. So they just show you them working on it. And then Ty, the host, says, show me the house. And they push past the photo of before. And then you see it. And there's tears of joy. And you're like, this is the culmination of it. So we don't necessarily watch for the end result. We watch for the transformation and the feelings that we get. So if you focus on those three things, your videos are going to have a much higher probability of catching the algorithm because people want to see that. This is important. There's a before and after. There's no dialogue. It's rich with soundscape and design. If you do nothing else, just follow those three rules and your videos should perform better.
Yes, 100%. When there's a good payoff and you can see that transformation, like I think one of the biggest takeaways for me as I got into this space on a smaller scale currently and continuing to build my own personal brand is like, do not just be a watcher, like be a student when you consume. Like take a second and pause after you watch a really good video, whether it's a short or long video, and ask yourself like, why did I stay the whole time? What are they doing that's keeping my attention? And then when you ask that question, like watch it again and like literally ask yourself like, how did they open the video? What are the sounds that are in there? What are the clips? How are they shooting? Especially those that are like, have really figured it out. What I love to do is go to a profile that's huge now, but everyone starts at 0, right? And I like to just scroll all the way down because I'm a student of content. And I can, you can see the transformation when they figured it out because it's just little building blocks on top of each other of making micro changes over time to really nail it. And once they nail it, 9 times out of 10, they just stay in that pocket. They stay in the pocket that they're good at. So big takeaway is go from watcher to student when you consume. Anything to add to that?
I'll make it easier for you. Yeah, I'll make it easier for you. I learned this from Brendan Kane. Look at pieces of content through the 3 Fs. The 3 Fs, okay? Facts, fun, and feeling. Ask yourself, what did I learn in terms of facts? What are the data points in which you're sharing with me in this video? How am I having feelings of fun? What are they doing actively to make me feel like this is super fun? And lastly, check in with yourself. What are the emotions I'm feeling? What did they do to elicit those emotions from me? The best, most viral videos do all 3 simultaneously. Because as it turns out through the studies that Brendan has done, that 90% of the population learns from one of these 3 things. So if you only speak to facts, you only get 30% of the population. If you only speak about feelings, then you only get 30. So you want to incorporate all 3 things. So getting back to our architecture example, okay, it's pretty easy to see in architecture. So there's the person who quite literally walks you through the property, tells you how many square feet the lot is, where it's located, what neighborhood it's in. Those are all facts. Square footage, how many bedrooms, ensuite, baths, whatever it is. It's like blah, blah, blah. There's 2 pools, 2 fireplaces. That's all facts. Necessary. I didn't need to know the price too, but not very captivating. And then there's the people who then bring a feeling to it. And the best way to elicit a feeling is you say this magic phrase. It begins with imagine or picture yourself. And there's something really strange about this word. So if I were to direct the audience right now, imagine yourself working in a beautiful home overlooking the ocean or the canyons or the desert, and you waking up every morning surrounded by nature and beauty and just realizing how great your life is. And then imagine yourself walking your slippers over to the kitchen and there's a hot espresso already made for you because your part-time live-in chef, whatever it is, has prepared you your favorite meal. Can you smell the aroma of the coffee? Can you feel the salty air from the beach? The crispness of the mountain air from summer or spring or whenever it is. You can, because you can't help yourself when somebody says, imagine or picture yourself. It's one of these magical phrases that opens up the subconscious mind to allow us to go there. And so that's what these people do. They say, imagine entertaining 100 guests and they're by the pool. Someone's serving drinks and this is your wine cellar and you get to talk about X, Y, and Z. That's what you do when you activate the feelings part of it. And then the last part is to have fun. Now, some of these real estate videos, I've seen this new woman and I'm watching her videos and she always does one wacky, weird thing in the video. And it becomes part of her subconscious signal to the audience because we're like, what weird thing is she going to do? She's fairly attractive, good proportioned woman. And she'll go in and she'll go into the home gym and she goes, you know what? I'm going to try to lift this weight. It's 50 pounds. I'm not sure if I can do it, but let's try. And we're like, oh my God. And she does it. And I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Or she'll sit in the sauna and it's like, okay, that's the wacky thing that she's doing. So she's having fun. And we get the sense that she enjoys her job. So we enjoy watching the video with her. Here's an exercise. You're like, okay, Chris, how easy for you guys to say you like to talk and you have a good vocabulary. Do this. Watch one of these real estate videos, these home tours. Make some notes. And then play it, turn the volume down, and talk over it. It's really good practice. It's something I'm going to do with my kids and my wife. I'm like, okay, everybody, we get to watch this, pick up some terminology, write some notes, think about what you want to say, and then each person gets to do the presentation to the exact same video. If you do this enough times, you're going to start to see like, oh, I can do this. Let's switch gears briefly here to sports. I love pugilistic sports, mano a mano, hand-to-hand combat, right? Either boxing or mixed martial arts. And one of the best ever to do it is a guy named Jim Lampley. We've talked about him before. He's on the HBO broadcast team. And the broadcast team usually consists of 3 people: a play-by-play guy, a color commentator, and a former pro athlete champion. And what's really interesting, and it's unparalleled because I haven't seen anybody else do it as well as Jim Lampley, and he's been doing this for decades, is he's the play-by-play guy. But what he described is not literally what you see. And it makes me become so excited. Again, if you turn the volume off a sporting event, it's not so exciting. But if you turn the volume on, and I've gone to live events when I've watched UFC fights before, it's not the same experience. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I want to hear Joe Rogan. I want to hear whoever is in the booth talking about the fight, because they add texture and nuance to the event that I can't perceive with my eyes alone. Okay? So what Jim Lampley will do is like, he throws a jab, another jab, it's unanswered. He's like saying, come at me if you have the guts. I'm like, that's not what he's saying, but I feel like he could be thinking that. Right? And the other person recoils, and then surprisingly, he throws a left hook back and barely misses, grazing the nose of the other person. Like you could smell the leather on his glove. Or he was like, he just gave him a haircut there. Any closer, and it would probably be lights out, good night, Irene. Whatever they're going to say. And Jim Lampley does this so well. I wish the play-by-play people at the UFC could do this, because that would take the sport that I love so much to the very next level. Joe Rogan serves as the color commentator, right? He's not a professional athlete, but he adds color and comedy. And I think this is where hip hop people do such a good job. Let's just say it. Black and brown people do this really, really well. And I'm addicted to these videos where they do reactions. What you want to do is you have this ultra clean, ultra minimal kitchen, but you have a toaster, you have a oven, you might have a microwave, you might have a food mixer, and you have a coffee maker, and it clutters this beautiful design. So what they do is they build in these things where you can hide all that stuff until when you need it, and it's hidden behind a wall. They call it an appliance garage. And the very thoughtful kitchens, the ones that are designed for people to actually use and live in, they design these into it. And so there's this marble backsplash, and this wall just comes sliding up. And the guy who's doing this, oh my, no, I need this right now. This is so good. He goes so over the top, and he's like swearing and angry that it's so good that I'm like, he needs to do the voiceover for everything that's like this, because he's so funny. So he, through his talent, through his voice, through his lens and his language, his cultural experiences, can describe something or just react to it in such a way that it makes the video infinitely more watchable.
I hope that people listening are hearing these examples and saying, oh, I can do this. Because there's different formats to content. Like a lot of people that may be watching our channel right now is like, well, I have to educate, and I have to, teach something, and I have to be like brilliant at this thing. And Chris started making content after 25 years in business. And it's like, you can ease into it. Even the inkling of telling yourself like, well, someone's already doing it, just kind of push that to the wayside, because like Chris said, you have a specific flavor, you have a specific style, you have a specific background that you bring that to if you choose the commentator route.
If you think about that type of video now, it's very different than this whole like pressure washing, hedging lawns and things like that. Mm-hmm. These are reactionary commentary videos, and the video itself is the fact part. Mm-hmm. It's an appliance garage, mm-hmm. I get it. Mm-hmm. But what they're adding is fun and feelings.
That's all they're adding to it. That's right.
Way over the top. And it's delightful to see people so excited about something or so angry about something. Those videos are like, no effing way. That's not going to work. I'm like, oh my God, my life has changed. Take my money. Take all my money right now. They're like, I will go into poverty to buy this right now. And they do it in their own charming way. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. And so in this world, the companies produce products, facts. They're looking for people to bring fun and feeling to it, and that could be you.
Those now kind of primed, okay, this is a viable thing. This is something that I can do. Based on your 10-year history now with this domain, tell people what they should avoid doing if they enter this thing.
3 things that you should avoid when making content is, number 1, don't treat this as another means to market your products and services. This is not about advertising to your prospects. That's a whole different channel. That's a whole different person who's going to teach you how to do that. That's necessary and vital, but don't take what we're doing and pervert it into ways to get more money from people, because you're not going to create long-term value for yourself. You're not going to develop 1,000 true fans by advertising to them every second that you get a chance to. Number 2 is have a hypothesis and just start creating and test and experiment and learn as you go. At some point, if you stay in the game long enough and not quit, you will find your magic formula. And once you find your magic formula, you go all in on that. And so this is a wonderful piece of news for many people, which is don't wish for or want an instant hit, because you didn't get time to explore all these things. It's good for you to explore lots of things so that you know what you really want to do, so you can refine it and you can get better and better. If you watch the original Mr. Beast videos when he's a kid saying somebody's name for like 1,000,000 times, but he took those principles about creating cliffhangers or stunts, over the top things, feel good videos. And I think he said he spent something like $120 million a year making content, which is bananas to me. So he figures out how to create mini cliffhangers, create over the top videos, but only through the process of trial and error. So I think it's really important for you to enter into this not with such a fixed idea as to who you're going to be. I'll make this super personal and relatable to you, okay? When I first was making content, it was about UX design and UI for websites. That's not my jam. It's not what I do, but I did it because that's what Jose did and that's what he knew. And eventually I started making videos about logo design or typography and layout because that's what I knew. But that wasn't my jam either. It wasn't until one of my former students asked me, hey, I need some business coaching. I can't afford to pay you. What can we do? I'm like, well, if you appear on camera, allow me to tell the story, and we're super transparent about everything, then that will give me value. And sure enough, an audience started to show up and it told me, hey, Chris, there are a lot of people out there making design content. Some of them are better than you, some of them are worse. There's a lot of people out there making business content. Again, some of them are better, some are worse, but very few people who can actually speak authentically from a place of experience, design, and business, and that could be you. And when I started making that content, it started to connect and resonate with people. I enjoy talking about this. And so now it's like, I let the audience tell me like what is good and valuable. Not once in my life did I think during those periods that we would have 2.5 million subscribers on our channel talking about the business of creativity. I'm like, this is too nerdy. This is so niche. Why would anybody watch this stuff? But you know what? Shows you what each one of us knows about our audience, which is very little.
There's a community for everything. Like there's literally a community for everything. There is going to be somebody that aligns with the interest that you are passionate about. And I think that's a really cool thing. Like, don't we have, who's our friend? He made like a second channel about Pokemon cards.
Pat Flynn. Yeah. He likes Pokemon
And there's
cards.
an audience for that. And that one blew up faster than his original content marketing channel. Don't sell yourself short. Like Chris always tells me, your weirdness is going to be what attracts people. And I think he's really right in that regard, for sure.
That'll lead me to my third point here, and which is everybody emulates the people they think are successful. In the process of emulating what's successful, and it's a great way to learn, there's nothing wrong with that, you lose some part of yourself because you're now a poor copy of someone who's doing it better and longer than you. And why would someone choose you over the original person? So I'm coming to embrace this idea that being weird is better than being better. Being different is your competitive advantage. So in your pursuit of emulating what other people do, you're some poor copy of that person. And it's okay to do this so that you learn and you go through the mechanics of like, now I know how to create content. That's great. But at some point you need to turn the lens on yourself and say like, what makes me different and unique? And people are noticing this about me and my transformation from this 10-year arc, from being the guy who wears the suit literally with suit and tie, talking about business, being quite stiff on camera, to this person who's like with the drip, the streetwear layered on top of the LV stuff, you know? And then me leaning into my personality, laughing wholeheartedly, and sometimes crushing people's souls online. It's just, that's who I am. That is me, all of me. And you can love it, or you can leave it, or you can be ambivalent about it. Whatever, pick your poison. I don't really care.
What is a final word that you would want to give somebody for this video? And I feel like if I have a hunch, if the community wants more videos around the creator economy, making money online through the creator economy, just tell us in the comments below if you want more videos around this topic, and we'll be glad to do so. But Chris.
Final thoughts. Let me land the plane for you, okay? Number one is make the commitment to do something and start putting out content. And don't fall in love with your content so much so that you can't make any changes. I don't know why people do that. There's nothing that says you can't change tomorrow and show up differently and talk about the things that really stirs your soul and makes you really happy. You can do that any point in time. And number two is don't be so proud to beg. You know what? You do your content and you're like stuck and you're like, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I'm not going anywhere. Go get some freaking help. You know, so reach out to another creator and say, you know, I really admire your content. I've been following it. And is there something that where we can make an arrangement where I study under you? I can pay you something. do you have any kind of programs that I can enroll in? And oftentimes creators are just happy to help other creators. But don't do it on your first video. Do it after you do your 50th video, because it looks like you're just trying to shortcut everything in life. And I want to just give a shout out to somebody in particular. When we were fairly young in our YouTube game, there was a gentleman, his name is Roberto Blake. We had a relationship with him. He's like, hey, there's a couple of things that you guys can do that will change it for you. He taught us about titles and algorithms and thumbnail design. He just talked to us through it, and he didn't ask for anything in exchange. I'm a fan of his, he's a fan of ours, and it's just two creators getting together to talk. And we benefited from that. And that helped me to get the kind of momentum that has kept me in the game for as long as I have. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I'm pretty resilient. I think I have determination and fortitude. But you know what? 4 years in, if you don't get results, you're like, I just want to jump off a bridge.
How long did it take you before you saw results?
Well, I'm not saying 4 years, but it didn't take 4 years.
But it took some time, though. It didn't just happen
it took
overnight.
a little bit
5
of time.
videos in.
I would say about a year.
That's a long
About
time.
a year into making content, I started to look at things a little bit differently. And then when we found results, you go where the gold comes out. It's like, that's where the gold is. Let's go back in there and we keep doing this. And you know what? None of our growth has been hockey stick growth, except for doing the shorts. That we saw, like, remember you and I were talking?
Oh, yeah.
I was walking and I called you one time. I'm like, Mo, have you seen this video? It's like, it's got 100,000 views. And you're like, dude, which one? There's no video that has 100,000 views. And I see the one that's 240. I'm like, oh, shoot, I messed up. And I went back and I looked at it. It's like 360. I'm like, holy cow,
like, that's the one.
we finally got it. The first time in our lives, 4 to 8 years into the content creation game. Let's see, that was during the pandemic, 2020. That would be 6 years into content creation. We actually had our first viral hit. Or maybe our first and only. We don't really have viral videos. We create meaty, hearty, nourishing video sandwiches that take time to process and eat. This ain't fast food, everybody. This is slow cooking.
I do want to add something. And I had to learn this the hard way. Really do have fun in those beginning stages when you don't have an audience. Like, experiment so much, because guess what? People won't even see that stuff because you haven't set expectations. You haven't nurtured them to like come for a certain thing, like all these different things. Have a lot of fun in those beginning stages. I would argue stay as much as possible outside of the results. Like, definitely look at your insights, look at your analytics, tweak things, but you should be tasting a lot of different things in those beginning stages.
I'll leave the audience with these 3 ideas, and they're connected. And it's something that my former business mentor shared with me. Rest in peace, Kieran McLaren. Do the work, trust the process, stay out of the results. You stick with those 3 things, you're going to do well in life. Do the work, trust the process, and stay out the results.
All right, gang, that's everything. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe, because I noticed that not a lot of us are subscribing, but we are watching. So we need to change that for the YouTube gods. And Chris, tell them about some of the upcoming changes that are going to be happening on the channel here shortly.
I'm going to get real with you all right now. You all know that my mission is to teach 1 billion people how to make a living doing what they love. And our community is broke. They're broken in a lot of different ways, but they're not broken. They're just broke financially. And the only way we can continue doing what we do to make this big impact that I want to change and disrupt education the way it's done is some of you guys have to buy our products. And I also simultaneously realize is we flood you with so much content that we put so much value in this that there's no room on your plate for anything else. So you're like, I can't get through the free content. Why would I buy something else? So this is unfortunately me sabotaging my own career. And we're feeling it. Like, everybody's feeling the financial pressure, and our sales are down. And I'm trying to think, what do I need to do differently? So moving forward, what we're going to be doing is we're going to release videos, and they're going to have an expiration date. I'm not sure yet what it's going to be, but let's just say it's 48 hours. It might be a little bit longer to give you a chance to view it. Maybe 72 hours, something like that, where you get to watch the content for free. This fulfills my mission to teach people, especially for people who need it the most, who can't afford to buy our stuff. No problem. So tune in, watch the videos, share them with people, and everyone extracts maximum value from it. But afterwards, it's going to disappear. It's going to be moved into our premium channel. Only the people who subscribe or pay for that will be able to watch it. I think this way we can have a happy balance between these 2 things. So if you want to continue watching, make sure that you not only become, I forget the term for it, but not just subscribe and follow the channel, but become a premium member so that you can support us in our endeavor to teach. If enough of the people that watch this stuff who literally tell me in the comments, you changed my life. You helped me through rough patches. You made this kind of money, but they never buy anything. So it's like, guys, you got to help me help you. I want to do this. So those who are in a position who can afford it, you support everyone who cannot. And we think what we've done every single day is to foster an audience and community that is here for each other. It's not a dog-eat-dog world. It's like we run with the wolves and it's one giant wolf pack and we take care of our own. And that's how we can do this. So I hope you'll support me in this endeavor. So you're going to start to see a slowly disappearing library of videos. We realize what we've done is we put too much content out there in our zeal to teach people, but we're undermining our own business operation because you're just not buying our stuff. And we can't continue to do this. And I'm in it for the infinite game. I need to make enough money so that I can pay people a livable wage so we can have fun doing this while teaching you and continue to do this for not years to come, but decades to come. So that's it for me. I hope you support this endeavor. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.